Do you want to be healed? And that may be a question that you want to ask yourself. What area in your life that you need healing? Now think about you being healed and the responsibilities that are attached to you being healed. Have you had your daily drip? Welcome back to season 3 of the Daily Drip podcast, where we create kingdom content that builds community. I'm your host, Aaron Levy, and let's squeeze them scripts for that daily drip. Hey, guess what? We're already in John chapter 5. We're going on this journey in John chapter 5, and I think it's been a great one. The last few weeks, we've been learning about what it means to be a disciple, what it means to believe, and now we're going to talk about healing. I just want to read it because there's so much to unpack. We're going to be in John chapter 5, 1 all the way through 17. So let's put it in 2 chunks. Let's put on our seatbelts. Let's go. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool in Aramaic called Bethesda, which has 5 roof colonnades. In these lay a multitude of invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. One man who was there who had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him laying there and knew that he had already been there a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" The sick man said to him, "Sir," there's that word sir again, "I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up. And while I'm going, another stepped down before me." Jesus said to him, "Get up, take up your bed, and walk." And at once the man was healed, and he took up his bed and he walked. So much to unpack. And we're going to look at, we're going to keep going. But you know, the first thing I thought about, I'm getting old. Because I remember the first time I read this, I was like, man, 38 years old is old. I've been reading this since before I was 38. And now I'm way beyond 38. I was like, man, he was in that situation 38 years. God, dog, this dude is old. So when I first read this, I'm like, well, I'm beyond that. But hey, let's talk about what's happening here. In John chapter 5, there's this pool. Just like in John chapter 4, there was this living water of Jesus next to this well of water. Now we have this pool, this water, where people that are blind, lame, or paralyzed think, if I get in that water, I'll be healed. The problem with this man is he's lame. He can't move, so he has to depend on people for his quote-unquote healing. Now, when we look at John chapter 5, verse 6, this is crazy because Jesus appears to be mean. Like, assess this. Can you imagine going to Kaiser and seeing somebody lame that can't move, and you visit them in their hospital bed and you tell them, "Do you want to be healed?" I don't imagine that. When I was getting my biblical training, and part of it was like doctor visits and so forth, that was never a part of the training. Don't go to somebody and say, "Do you want to be healed?" But Jesus is teaching us something that is not always apparent. Sometimes people like staying in their situation because of the benefits of victimhood. Oh, God. Because if I am healed, I got to take care of myself. If I'm not healed, you got to take care of me. We see this pan out in marriages where one spouse is hurt by the other spouse, but instead of that spouse getting healed, they'll just say, "Hey, you got to make up for what you did. You got to make up for what you did." So now the hurt person, I never have to change. I never have to be healed. You just always got to cater to me. So that's what Jesus is saying. Do you want to be healed? And that may be a question that you want to ask yourself. What area in your life that you need healing? Now think about you being healed and the responsibilities that are attached to you being healed. That's what Jesus is saying. Do you want to be healed? And he exposed it because firstly, he calls Jesus sir. Woman at the well did that. The official did that. So what are we driving here in the book of John? Jesus is having conversations of transformation with people that don't even know him. That's comforting and sobering. It's comforting to know that Jesus meets us where we're at. It's sobering to know dang, sometimes we can go to Jesus, don't even know him, but just want him to do fairy tale tricks for us. So look what he says here. Sir, I have no one. You have Jesus asking you if you want to be healed, but then his perspective, I have no one. You have Jesus. And how many times in our life are we like, man, I got nobody. Nobody got my back. Nobody loves me. Nobody's there for me. Nobody understands. And we got Jesus right in front of us. I have no one to put me in the pool. You're looking for natural water. Jesus is living water. But look, watch this. And while I'm going, another steps down before him. See, he's looking at his victim mentality. I got no one to help me. And when I try to do it myself, people cut in front of me. So instead of him looking for healing, he's focused on his feelings. But if we're going to be on why did I even do that? But if we're going to be on this faith journey, we have to be consumed with what Jesus says who we are, what Jesus can do, not how we feel about our situation. Like our salvation is more important than our situation. Our soul care is more important than our circumstance. So he says, get up, take up your bed and walk. Stop depending on other people to heal you. You get up. Aaron, you get up. I have to get up. I got to take up my own bed and I got to walk. And why did he say take up your own bed? So that way I don't go back or you don't go back to the situations where our mentality is focused on other people being dependent on our healing. So if we continue looking at this, he gets healed and he probably thinks people are going to celebrate him because he's healed. And the opposite happens. Because it's the Sabbath. Religious people. So look at this. Let's keep reading. Now that day was the Sabbath. So the Jews said to the man who had been healed, it is the Sabbath, and it is not lawful for you to take up your bed. That's how I pictured them. But he answered them, the man who healed me, that man said to me, take up your bed and walk. And they asked him, who is this man who said to you, take up your bed and walk? Now the man who had been healed did not know it was Jesus, for Jesus had withdrawn and there was a crowd in the place. He got his healing, but he don't know Jesus. Afterward, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, see, you are well. Sin no more, that nothing worse may happen to you. The man went away and told the Jews that it was Jesus who had healed him. And this is why the Jews were persecuting Jesus, because he was doing these things on the Sabbath. But Jesus answered them, my Father is working until now, and I am working. Healing in verse 10, healing in verse 11, healing verse 12, healing verse 15. Let's close it out. Sometimes Jesus transforms our life and we go back to the same people and we expect them to celebrate us and they don't. He goes to the people because now he can walk. So he goes to quote unquote church folk and they're like, hey bro, it's the Sabbath. They threw rules in his face. And what do when you're healed, but you're around circumstances or around people that won't acknowledge your healing? You got to get a better crowd, or you got to get with Jesus, because notice he still don't really know who Jesus is. And sometimes Jesus does great things in our life as marketing so we can start following him. The biggest miracle is us following Jesus, not us walking. Which direction are we going to walk? Because look at this. Jesus said to him, sin no more that nothing worse may happen to you. Is Jesus a jerk? My gosh. No. What is he saying here? He's saying, hey, I healed you, and now you have to be responsible for the healing that you have. So sin no more. What is sin no more that nothing worse can happen? You know what would be worse? It's worse if Jesus delivers us from a situation and we go right back to it. It would be worse if he has the ability to walk, but he is so crumbled from the criticism of the crowd that he gets right back into his bed and goes right back to those old pools. That's how we're going to practice the drip this week. Where do you need healing from Jesus? Not from affirmation of people, or to get this from people or that from people. What do you need that only Jesus can provide? And then once Jesus provides that, do you keep going to him? Or do you just want to flex to people? Look how blessed I am. We're blessed to be a blessing. And as part of being a blessing, we have to endure the criticism of people that don't understand Jesus. That is the faith journey. And if we want to live a life of faith, it is walking out healed and walking past people that doesn't understand the journey that you're on, but inviting them to follow Jesus, not necessarily follow you. Because here's the thing about the faith journey. The faith journey, we all are broke. We all are either lame, blind, or paralyzed. And we need Jesus, not a promotion, not a spouse, not pregnancy. There's nothing wrong with those things. But if those things are more important than Jesus, even when Jesus gets in our face and heals us, it won't be enough. We need healing and we need people to make us feel better. But Jesus had 2 encounters one-on-one with that man. Do you spend time with Jesus one-on-one long enough that no matter what the crowd says, you're cool? That's the practice. Let's walk out in our healing. Hey, it will be a blessing to me if you share this with somebody that needs healing. And what I mean by that is, let's say somebody is stuck in a relational cycle. They're stuck in a perspective. They will have the opportunity to see in John chapter 5 that Jesus meets us where we're at, and he continues to invite us to walk with him. That's our practice, not only to do that, but invite others to do it. Stay dripping, my friends.